recording right now.
Back.
We're running it back, guys. Take all your hellos back, okay? Everyone, just wait to say hello
Let me know
again.
when you press the start record button.
Okay.
All right, what's going on? Hello, everybody. Week 5 of the podcast. We have Aiden Smith. We have our director, Stoic, and a new face, Marantino. Welcome. If you want to just introduce yourself, Marantino, you can let everyone know who you are, what's going on.
Yeah, this is Marantino. Actually, I'm from Saudi Arabia. I've been playing Summoner's War for like, you can say 6 years, maybe, or maybe more. And yeah, I'm really glad that I'm joining the first broadcast ever. Thank you so much for you guys.
Yeah, of course. It's great to have you. It's great to have you. You know, you've been a prominent RK player for a while. A lot of strength in that box over there. I've fought you a couple times. I'm scared every time I see the name, but you know, it is what it is. I would like to say, how's it feel to be back on, Mr. Director? I heard you were busy heavy lifting all weekend.
I've had a crazy busy week all week. I don't know about you guys.
The funny thing is, because I can't see your camera, I can't tell if you're talking to me or if there's just a pause. I look at him like,
Yeah, I'm like, man, is it muted? I can't tell. Camera's off.
I can't even tell you how tired I am. To my hands, my knees, my back, I can taste my vertebrae right now. So it's rough. But yeah, no, it's been a really crazy week for me. Currently digging up my backyard and making a summoning henge, aka a I forgot what it's called, fire pit. So doing like a 15-foot fire pit.
I thought that was vetoed.
It was vetoed, but I think I'm going to make something, take some photos, and then put it back like it never happened. So we'll see.
True. Be good for the social media at least.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump right into it. I don't want to drag on for too long like I usually do, talking about random stuff. Topic 1. Let's go over it. Topic 1, crit rate is fixed. What do you think? What do you think? How's it affecting you? Do you think it's good for the game? Do you think that it's actually fixed? There's been a lot of tinfoil hat theories, a lot of things going on, so I want to hear what you guys think. If it's fixed, if you like it, if you think it's good for the game.
Well, it's definitely fixed because units are critting less. But I think it's really good for the game. I think it's the correct direction to go. You know, crit rate should be what it actually is. And it just means you're going to have to devote more runes to crit rate, or, you know, up your slot 2s, get more crit rate on them. But yeah, overall, definitely feel it. Felt it on the barb, felt it on a couple other, 60, 70 crit rate units. So it's definitely fixed, for sure.
You know how it's not easy to be a bruiser right now in today's meta? It's even tougher now. It's even tougher because any bruiser, because you need so many stats, you're running like 80, 85 crit rate, and you're missing crits like no tomorrow. It's rough. It really is rough. So being a bruiser right now and you can't even deal damage, we're in a bad place. We're in a bad place. For 6 years, I've been farming only bruising runes, which is that's my fault. That's my fault. I decided to go down that route, and I'm paying for it now. So it's rough. But hey,
understandable. What do you think, Marantino? Opinions on crit rate changes?
Well, to be honest, guys, first of all, I really don't have an idea that the crit rate was like, it was bugged or something, or it was more than usual. Should be, right? Mm-hmm. So I was running my Barbara on like 50% crit rate, but she was critting every time. I was like surprised, like, oh wow, we don't need that much crit. We just go for it. No crit rate, fine, working. But I have to move first, right? And then when I see the patch note, it's crit rate being fixed, like, what? How? Why? Really? Do we have more crit rate before? I was like, okay. So after that, I try to play with my Barbara with the same set crit rate. It doesn't work that much. It doesn't crit. She even missed my crit against Fras when that tournament going on. So, but it's a good thing still. Yeah, overall it's good. Good fix. But I have one question. For how long that bug it's been?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, they said 4 years. In the
They
notice, they
just-
said it was 4 years.
2016.
God.
Yep.
It's just too much. They didn't realize for 4 years that crit rate it was higher than usual.
It was
Okay.
hidden, kind of. It was the bug was
Yeah.
hidden behind crit animations.
But
That and the fact that we were all trying to crit for pretty much all of those years, and not until really like 2A Miho is when people started wanting to not crit.
Yep.
And that's when people kind of noticed. So
okay, so we start from Miho. I see.
Yeah. Well, that's where it was born, because now people are making so many units to not crit, as Agent Smith was saying. Mio's out there, and you're like, I run 19 crit rate critting, and then 20 crit rate critting, and like all these units that shouldn't be critting or critting. So someone looked into it, and then they found out that, wow, this is interesting. Why am I always critting with this? Or they're just getting the odds of what's critting at what point did it stop critting, and it was over critting for a certain amount of crit rate.
So thanks to Mohi, what?
Miho?
Thanks to her. Miho, yeah. Thanks to her then. Definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think I've given my opinions on crit rate changes a lot. I think it's good. I've always valued crit rate as a more valuable substat than most things. So, I'm coming under that. I do want to go back to something that you said, though, Stoic.
Yep.
You said that Bruisers are in a worse place because of crit rate changes. Units that run 80 to 85 crit are more punished now. I want to put out a counterpoint, and I want your opinion on it, okay?
Gotcha.
I think, theoretically, Bruisers are stronger now because people who run faster units with less crit are more punished than you are.
Okay. So the matches are going out longer as well, so they're not dealing as much damage. So they are taking first turn no matter what. They're going for their damage. They're missing their crits, and that's where Bruisers are still looking really, really strong.
Well, no,
It's a great counterpoint, honestly. I think it's a solid
I'm not
counterpoint.
saying Bruisers are looking really strong. I think that's different than what I'm
No,
saying.
no,
What
I didn't mean to throw that in
The
there.
crit changes
Um,
aren't necessarily as bad for you as people make it out to be if
Mhm.
you were a Bruiser player, right?
Well,
because if you're playing Art of Ragdoll, right? Even if people are critting you less, they're also dealing significantly less damage to you.
it makes
So
sense.
that's kind of
Right.
like my counterpoint there.
Onimushas do exist, and they are still Kaki's still pretty good against Art of Rag. You
Yep.
know, or Kinky even. Kinky's probably the best one against Art of Rag.
What is
So
crazy.
Kinky is
I've
wild.
still not seen the Dark One in a match, so I'm interested.
3 hit somebody for 40k on defense break. I was like, wow, that's nuts. It's
No
so
way.
hard.
I think if I pull a Kinky, I'll be in a really good shape. Really good. Kinky Ada. I don't know if anybody else has that out there, but because that's a multi-hit, if you defense break with Kinky on the first swing, Ada's hit will come in time for the second hit on the def break. So having both units revenging on hits would be wild.
I think people are still misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying Bruisers are strong. I've never once said Bruisers are strong. Bruisers are significantly weak in the meta. Everybody knows that. Control is insanely strong versus Bruisers. What I'm saying is that the crit changes don't make a significant dent to Bruisers because they're already in a bad place. Right? If your Bruisers were at like a 5 out of 10 before, they moved down to like a 4, right? Whereas like these super fast low crit rate units were at a 10, they moved down to like an 8 or like a 7.5, right? Everything's still useful and still usable.
Yep.
But I'm saying the difference in what was like the value of the nerf is more beneficial to Bruisers, in my opinion, than it, especially if you have Ragdoll. Because you're still gaining, like if you have Ragdoll and you're running Bruiser teams, you still get turns, right? It doesn't matter if they're critting or not critting. They AoE, you're getting turns no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're running fast crit units, even if they're on lower crit and they're missing crits here and there, it's still fine, right? If you're a running Bruiser and you're not running LDs with your Bruisers, you're playing an extremely disadvantageous comp, right? It's just, it honestly is just how it is.
It makes sense. It does.
Yeah, they're Bruisers. Yeah, like the crit rate change doesn't make your Bruiser get suddenly controlled more than before. Like they were still getting controlled.
Yep.
So
Because
I
the
could
meta's not
definitely-
changing. The meta did not
I
change
can
because of
concede
that.
to that point. I do think though it certainly doesn't help. So I do disagree with that. I don't think it it helps them. But I also, I don't think it really hurts them as bad as some people think. It's just you're gonna have to change, I guess, either how you're banning or change a little bit to your runes somehow. But I think it's tough either way.
I've accepted my position I'm in.
You'll get there, Stoic.
We'll see. One day.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, like, it really just revolves back to like, hey, the meta is this, and it's really hard if you're not playing that, right?
Yep.
I think we all understand, like, if you're not playing control, it's hard, right? Even if you have like Jagger Ragdoll, you can still get controlled pretty hard sometimes, right?
Yep.
You know, you have a Jagger, you have a Ragdoll, you still get defense broken by Chung Pong, you still get like
Or
two shots,
Neftis.
somebody's Masha,
Yep.
right? Yeah, or like a
Care
Neftis.
about your Jaeger.
You still get controlled because there is so much control out there, right? It's just kind of a frustrating situation for now. Overall, though, I still feel like the crit rate changes are good for the game, right? Because it sets an important precedence, even if it was 4 years. But it also sets a precedence like, hey, we made a mistake, we fucked up. This is what we're gonna do about it. We're gonna work towards being better for the future, right? Like, I think we can unanimously agree that that is a good thing, right? Contours is open with us about what happened. They're open to us about the mistake they made, when they made it, what exactly it was, and they're saying this is what we're going to do to fix it in the future. I do think we should have longer free removal, though, because I think we were expecting to get that crit bug fix at like the second week, maybe. They should just give us free removal for all of April. All of April.
It'd help a lot of people out for sure. Do you
They're
think there's
putting
a
artifacts on all units today?
what was that?
Oh, because it's free rune removal. I've actually been putting artifacts on my 207 6-stars.
Oh,
Going
jeez.
through all that. Yeah.
That's a lot of work. What I was gonna say is, do you think there's almost like a new standard on like how you ruin your units now, knowing that we need a lot more crit rate? So if you thought like you had maybe a perfect unit, but originally was at like 80 crit rate, you loved all your stats, do you think there's a bigger push to make everything better and put it at that like 90, 95, and then you could then say like, all right, this guy's solid? Do you think there's like a new standard for what is actually good now? So if you were to judge somebody's, let's just say ragdoll out there, you're gonna judge their ragdoll, and before they were running 80 crit rate, would you now tell them, if you want to see this ragdoll rune properly, we're expecting to see the 90 plus?
Nope.
Yeah, I think so. Like,
I-
you're still going to be, even with 90, you're going to be missing 1 out of 10 crits, so, on average.
And I think people actually will rerune the units. They will put like more crit rate, because before, what they were running about like 80 crit rate for let's just say Perna. So 70 Perna before, like the last 4 years, it was not good. So they push it to 80% crit rate. So now after the fix, I don't know how much exactly the percentage of the crit rate has been fixed by.
I think 81% was like 99 or something.
99, right?
It was pretty
Yeah.
close. Yeah. So like basically if you were over 75-ish crit, you had a pretty strong chance of critting almost every time. And if you were over 50, you had like somewhere around like the 75% rate. It was pretty good. It was a pretty significant increase of crit rate.
Yeah, because actually I was running like most of my units around like 70% crit rate, and they were like just perfect. So now after the fix, I have to increase the crit rate more than 70. 70 is not good for me, so it will be like around like 85. 85 is a good number, I guess.
It's
Still a
not
1
bad.
So 70 is not gonna happen. Hello for us.
Nope.
So, Stoic, what do you think? What do you think? Like, what would you recommend for people to run crit wise and stuff? Like, what's your go-to kind of standard?
So if I had a
mine hasn't
standard,
changed. Crit bug, no crit bug. Mine's still the same.
okay. So let's say someone was in low conk and they were running 80, 85. Now, after all the crit rate changes, you were running 80, 85, I'd be like, you're doing pretty good for yourself in a Conqueror rank. Anybody looking to get in a Guardian, honestly, I would tell them, you got to have that 90 plus if you want to actually deal damage. If I were to be judging on people's damage dealers, if that unit's role is to deal damage, whatever that unit is, maybe they have some sort of help through a passive or a skill that doesn't have to worry about that. So forget about all that aside. If they're ruining up a damage dealer, someone's trying to potentially be a Guardian player, we're expecting to see that 90 plus. If you're in that Conqueror range, 80, 85, anybody under 80, 85, it just sounds like you need to work on that rune quality, is the way I'd be looking at it if people ruining up damage dealers.
So, okay, that's it's kind of reasonable, but I feel like that's also like really like rank strict, right?
Well,
think it's,
rank
like,
strict,
super
so a lot of people can relate to it. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm not saying these are the ranks, this is how it should be,
Okay,
but just
so
people to get an idea roughly.
the reason I disagree with like this rank strict idea is because I don't think that a rank, or even like, I don't think a rank indicates your rune quality unless you're below Conqueror 1.
I agree.
I
I
think if
lose to
you're below
C1s
Conqueror
all
1,
the time.
very indicative of your current rune quality. But anything from like C2, C3, G1, G2, C2 to G2, I think you can have varying rune quality and varying rune depth between people, especially with the way that you build units.
Mhm.
Right. So the way I've always looked at it is, what does the unit do? If the unit only does damage, you should probably always run it at 85 or 100 crit.
Yep.
85 for whatever elemental advantage you're running, or 100 because you need to crit everything, right? If your unit does a lot more than just damage, then I don't think you need to run that much crit at all. I think you can greed anywhere between 50 plus. So for example, Savannah, I don't think you actually need a significant amount of crit rate, because like the strongest like aspect of her kit is the fact that she speed buffs, attack bar pushes, and defense breaks. Not that she deals a shit ton of damage in one hit, right? Like, if you defense break a target, you're going to deal a lot of damage, regardless if you crit. Like,
That's a
units
utility
just-
damage dealer. She's there to
No.
do something, but then the damage is also on top of it.
Yeah. So, like, when it comes to, like, ruining units, it really comes down to, like, what is that unit's role, right? So,
That's
when,
what I
like,
was
when we
saying
talk
before.
about running a unit with crit, I think if you're talking about your ragdoll, I would drop your crit damage to 130 and run 100 crit.
It is 130.
Yeah. So you give up all your extra crit damage substats to find 3 grindables and more crit rate, right? I think when you're talking about units like Savannah, or if you're talking about units like even units like Tessarian, you could probably get away with less crit. You can talk about like Masha, probably you want a decent amount of crit, like 70 plus, ideally the 85. Right? If you're using units that are counterpicked specific to elements, you can generally get away with 85, right? But like, it's kind of up to you. You really just need to figure out like how do you want to use that unit, not like, should I run everything on this much crit rate or crit damage, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It should be
Definitely.
balanced.
Well, you can only get so much stats at the same time, because you got to remember,
30
like,
on
for
top,
me,
yeah.
what I'd see a perfect rune is a rune that for a bruiser. I'm sorry, I got to reword that. For a bruiser, if I got 18 speed, 18 crit rate, I'd be looking at that like gold. Like 18 speed, 18 crit rate. I can deal plenty of damage. I'm critting. I'm fast, and then it's just grindable percentages in there from there on. But that's a lot of missing stats. Like, I'm trying to be the thickest of boys here, and I want to make sure I've got plenty of HP defense with attack bar on top of it.
Yeah, you have tons of runes. Okay, so you have tons of runes that you can find grindable stats on, right?
Yep.
Slot 1 has 3, slot 2 has 3, slot 3 has 3, slot 5 has 4, slot 4 has 4 with the innate crit rate, and then slot 6 has 3. Like, that's a significant amount of stats that you can gain where you can still find a ton of crit. And the other thing is, like, even if you're running not speed slot 2, you can still find all of your crit on slot 2, slot 3.
Yes.
So you have 15 crit base. You find, like, let's say 22 on slot 2, and then you can look for you could probably find 22 on slot 3 as well. You have 44 plus the 15 gives you what, 59? 59 crit, you find 1 crit roll on everything else. 12 per rune, 48. You're just under the 100 now?
Yep.
Or you're just over the 100, sorry. You can even take 1 as an innate stat. Like, obviously that's like super ideal, right? it's super ideal because you're using triple crit rate on 2 slots, but like you can give up speed for crit rate if you really want to, right? Or you can give up a little bit of attack for more crit.
Unit
It's the
dependent.
same reason why like crit damage, especially if you don't need accuracy. If you don't need accuracy, it's way easier to build those units.
Or you don't believe in accuracy. That too.
Yeah, and Ragdoll Awakens.
I don't believe in resist. I do believe in it. Resist, that's not a real stat.
But like if you don't need accuracy, suddenly you have a whole new line of substats. Like you don't need 50% accuracy, 40% accuracy, right? That's 30% crit right there, or like 36% crit that you could have in terms of rune stats. I guess my point is like people greed crit rate so much, and crit rate is honestly not as hard to get as people think it is. The problem is people have this idea that you have to be as fast as possible on everything, right? They're like, I just need to be faster. So they give up all the other stats to be faster, right? People who use Barber, like really fast Barbers, give up crit rate to go faster. They give up
I was
accuracy
just
to
going
go
to talk about that and my Barbara. And now I have to give up a little bit of speed to get more crit on her now.
Exactly, right? Like those units require better rune quality now. You now have to like forcibly take more crit or accept that you probably will miss a crit, right? And I think that that is the reason why I like the way crit rate is adjusted right now, because I think it's better for the game, especially with Barbara. Like Barbara very specifically, I think is a good example of that. Right? Like being able to run like 50 crit on it. Like, sorry if I'm calling you a parent to you, but like if you can run 50 crit on a Barbara and get away with it all the time, like that's crazy, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I could actually quote Atcher. I remember talking about it before. This was a couple of years ago. He used to only look for speed and only speed, and a lot of his runes just lacked an abundance of crit because he was only rolling for speed like 100% of the time, and that's why he was trying to be so fast for the longest time. And he had very, very fast units. We all know Archer's builds back then, and that's
really
just something he was
experiments.
lacking in all of his runes. Like he never had really, really thick runes. Just everything he had was fast, and that was it.
Why we go far? You guys remember like people coming up with Obabo crit rate. And why Obabo crit rate? Because he was running like most of his unit with low crit rate.
Yep.
But he's still doing a ton of damage. It was crazy, right?
Yep. That 50
And-
crit rate.
but now, after the fix, he cannot do that anymore.
Mm.
So
And he's been
he-
streaming.
he's
I think
gonna-
we've been hearing his opinion on the crit rate right now in his units. I think he knows he needs the crit rate. I've been hearing it.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Well, I prefer actually like the unit, the way to build the unit, it should be like balanced, especially for the Savannah, let's just say. Because she is her kit, it's for everything. The CCing, damaging, and just set up for a damage dealer to go off after her, right? So crit rate, I mean, the crit damage and crit rate is not that important for her. For my Savannah, I'm running Savannah with no crit damage, no crit rate, super tanky, a lot of accuracy. Just 50 crit rate is enough for her, and there's a lot of attack and defense and HP. And she is doing absolutely fine. So what I'm just saying, the crit rate is not that important for like specific some units, some of the units. Yeah.
For like those utility units is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, ones that have other roles and stuff. Barbara definitely needs the crit because you need her dealing that damage so that you're taking turn one ideally. You
Yeah,
know,
Barbara is a,
slamming into the Okies. So
yeah, Barbara is a different story. Barbara, she needs the crit rate really badly. Otherwise, she's going to be useless. So she needs to be reruned from me.
I'm interested to see how things go. End of season, special league, the future. I really want to see how people start to adjust the builds of their units, like where the line comes in, where it's like this is the standard to have things at. Like if people continue to greed, or if they start to build more safety on that, like higher crit, etc., higher accuracy. And now it's just like interested to see how people are planning on making adjustments to their builds.
Mhm.
Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about with when it comes to the crit bug?
I think I covered everything.
I'll be making those
Cool.
big changes for next season.
We can go through your account. We can sit down and talk about rerooting.
I'd love to get just like a. I don't think have you ever played on my account?
I've never played on your account. Maybe in person once. Maybe in person once.
You know, yeah, I think in person. Yeah, you should
Mm-hmm.
deep dive and take a peek and see what's going on under the hood. That is an
We
engine.
could. Okay, so with that, let's move on to question 2, topic number 2 here. So topic number 2, Stoic and I wanted to talk a lot about the quality of life changes in the game, both recent ones as well as things in the last year or two. I guess the preface for this is that Com2S has given us a lot of quality of life changes in the past year, right? We've gotten Essence Fusion. We've gotten, or Essence Breakdown, sorry. Essence Breakdown. We've gotten R5 Mass Cell, which is recent. Things before that, though, like we had auto farming was added, right? The Fusion Hex improvements. We got a sealed shrine for summoning. Like, we've been given so many things that make the game more fun to play, but also more easily accessible, right? What do you guys feel about the things that they've changed recently, like the Essence Breakdown, R5 Mass Cell, as well as the Secret Dungeon farming? And what do you think about things that could be brought to the future, right? Like small things or even large things that could be good for the game?
All I know is if we keep asking, even though they say they will never introduce it, keep asking. They said they were never going to do any form of auto farm, and here we are. They said they were never going to do highs breaking down to lower essences, and here we are again. I think as a community, we need to keep on asking for anything that may make any player's lives easier in this game, because even though they say no, down the road, they may screw up and need to apologize to the community again and introduce something, because that's how this feels right now. Is like things got ugly, you know, they had some mix-ups, and then they were like, community's mad. We got to do something for them. Boom. Here's something they've been asking for. And it's just like, was it that much? It's not that bad. We said we weren't going to do it. Here it is.
Yeah, definitely lots of quality of life changes, especially because we're all, you know, older players who've been around for a long time. You know, thinking back, kind of just how, like for example, things are with early game players, right? Like when we started, like what was the most important thing? You know, I remember the most important thing for me week 2 was trying to spam mystical skulls to get a Wind Lizard Man so I could fuse Veromos. Now, just a whole lot of those things are, and you know, we could talk about how the fusions are outdated later for buffs, but you know, a lot of things are sort of guided for the newer players to get them into the game, and I think that that's probably the biggest, most positive change I've seen over the last couple of years. Good quality of life's definitely the Essence Fusion breakdown is good for anybody. End game, mid game, early game. That's just good for everybody. The Sealed Shrine's really good for the spammers who want to summon. It's really, really good. I'm not a big fan of the R5 Mass Cell because I can't do it while the runs are going. That definitely annoys me because like I like to do it as I'm running, but I still have to click them one at a time. If you want a Mass Cell, you have to wait till the end. So maybe that's something they could play a little tweak to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do that either. Like I noticed that myself to check out the Mass Cell, and I was like, how come I can't Mass Cell? I was like, am I bugged? Am I supposed to do an update or something like that? And then when the run ended, I was like, oh, like I can do it now apparently, and not during the runs, because I was trying to do it on the 9th run before the 10th came.
And sure, you know, you could just do it at the end, but you know, a lot of people R5 with random people who just don't have the patience and just don't wait the extra 20 seconds for people to sell. So just a small little thing they could do to fix the R5 Mass Cell. But yeah, overall, I think quality of life's really good. Getting better. Certainly, there's always things that can improve. Like, for the love of God, let us turn off the arena rivals dialogue. Let us turn on crit animations for when we want to preview transmogs, so that we can just watch it crit and not have to hit it 10 times, hoping for a crit. Just, you know, small little things like that. It's really nitpicky. So.
Emotes gone.
Oh yes, being able to turn off emotes to see the opponent. I think that's an important thing. Hearthstone has that. I think if your game has emotes, you have to be able to turn off the opponent. emoting against you.
I think that's next on the list. Like whatever the next issue that happens and the community gets upset, they're gonna be like, "All right, you can turn your emotes off now." So in time.
It's gonna be pretty funny. It's gonna be like, all right, guys, I know that we broke the game and everybody got 2 free LDNAT 5s except for OnceInLuv, but we're gonna let you turn off emotes in RTA.
Well,
It's gonna be some troll ass shit like that.
It's gonna happen.
I don't know. In terms of like quality of life things, I feel like we really do have most of the things we know right now. The main things I'd be looking to get is an improvement to things like, I think that your daily login rewards could be better. I think that we can definitely get some sort of daily login reward improvement that kind of just makes makes everything more enticing, like ever so slightly, right? Like imagine getting like, I don't know, 5 ancient crystals every week from login rewards, or like, 15 a month from login rewards, right? It would give people who like aren't lucky or who are newer players the opportunity to use that currency, right? Being able to get like a couple of memorials a month would be nice. Being able to get more ancient coins would be kind of nice. Like just little things like that. I think like adding stuff to like the daily reward system, I think would be really good, as well as I'd like to see. Obviously, we brought this up in the past many times, but what about like weekly missions or like monthly missions, right? Like we have daily missions that you got to do, right? You do daily missions, you get your 10 or 15 extra crystals and stuff, right? What about weekly missions that give us some more things, right? They give us immemorials, they give us ancient grinds and gems, stuff like that, right? What about, I mean, those, and the thing is, like, that wouldn't be anything extra to what you're already doing for like your daily rewards. It would be like, do all your daily rewards like 5 times in a week, and then maybe like 1 or 2 extra things.
Well, all right.
Get a
So
couple extra
I'm picking
rewards,
out what
and people
Barian just said. It sounds like a lot of work, he says. But what I would like to see for these daily rewards is normal playing stuff, though. Like certain amount of dungeons run, certain amount of rift run, certain amount of arena wings run. And these are all things that we technically should be doing. And this is kind of like Comptos' way of holding our hands to progression. You know what I mean? They're hanging these little rewards up here, and it's like a treat. Like you did 200 Kairos dungeon runs. Good for you. Here's a treat. You did 50 arena wings. Here's a treat. You know what I mean? Like these are little things that all help us.
The point isn't for us. The point isn't for the people who spend a lot of money and play the game 24/7. The point is to add like things so that free-to-play players can play the game more, so that they want to play the game more, right? You give people more incentive to like do the things that should regularly be done, right? If you're already doing daily missions, just give them extra rewards for doing 5 in a week or 6 in a week, right? Maybe they're good enough. Maybe they're actually worth doing. Daily missions honestly only take you like 10 minutes. They're really not that time consuming, right? It's just like, do I actually want to do them, right?
It is time consuming if you think of it like just you want to log in the game, you do your world boss, and then you press auto, and then phone goes down. And it's I personally would think it's time consuming if I have to go out of my way to go do all of that stuff when I just want to press auto. And then like maybe I'll do my arena wings because I know I have to do those.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Like Barian brought something up in chat, and arena runs are a huge chore. They are a huge chore. I absolutely cannot stand arena. But finally, after 6 years, last week I finished every single glory tower, so I never have to worry about it ever again. Just auto arrivals for the Delmon every week, and I never have to touch it because. And maybe it feels like a chore because the content just isn't fun, but that's a different discussion. But in terms of rewards, I wouldn't mind stealing more daily rewards because I don't think I've ever missed. Maybe once or twice I've missed daily rewards in all the years of playing. I always do it. Crystals are usually worth it, especially if you're free to play or don't pay a whole lot. So, but yeah, more would be. I'm not going to complain about more. I would definitely like to see, if we're talking about rewards, changes to TOA hard and TOA hell for sure. I think those rewards are beyond lackluster. But staying on topic for quality of life, I think daily, monthly, maybe even yearly missions would be pretty cool.
What do you think, Marantino?
Yeah, I've been quiet for a long time. All right. First of all, I would like, of course, like to thank you so much for the come to us. Like the big change they have done it in the game. It's really make the game more fun to play with, especially with the auto farms. And there's a lot of tools. It's helping the player actually to stay in the game. Like we don't have to leave the game or go AFK for the whole time. You just need to run, and we can just fix runes, level up, whatever we do. And for the like weekly, monthly mission, actually, it's really good, really good idea. I really like it. But I have like something else about runes, like leveling up runes. It need to be fixed, kind of. What if come to us if they can just add a bar? It can be limited for 10 times or 20 times to level up the runes, and then it will be guaranteed will be level up, right? Because sometimes you spend like 1 million mana for one rune to level up, just one hit, and it doesn't work.
See, I think this
So-
is something that once again down the road, because we've been asking for this as well, where you want to just pay, like you reach a point, you're like, can I just pay a flat cost and then just get this thing done? You know, down the road, maybe, who knows? If we keep asking for it, it may actually happen. But I don't think something like that will happen when we get one cost, finish a rune, and then be done with it. But I do agree, like, let's say you reach 1 million mana on one rune. Does that sound like a pretty good max? Like if a rune ever achieves 1 million mana, you get a flat cost to just be like done? I mean, I've gone over 2 million mana. on a rune
Arguably,
before.
the reason is because by having guarantees like that, mana loses its value. But at the same time, it really doesn't matter. Like we get so much mana now.
Oh yeah, everybody has an abundance of mana. So many people in the hundreds of million.
I'm
of mana.
broken. I have
It's just-
no mana.
The weak argument
Just-
nowadays.
You gotta farm more, Martino. I got 200 mil.
What? I do have only 1 million. I'm just spending like that. It's just gone.
Do you have a triple Ikaru? Because I don't have it, and I'm not doing
do.
that great. You do?
I do.
I don't have.
Oh,
I'm at
wow.
100 million.
I've got it, but
wow.
I don't farm dragons. I just farm giants.
Me too. I farm giants only.
I don't know how you guys keep that much mana. Like
Everything
leveling
just
up
gets sold at
artifact
+3.
runes never
Everything
end.
immediately gets sold.
Everything just gets sold at +3.
I never
No,
get
the
anything.
real
sold.
way you get mana fast is you farm SF10 at 28 seconds, and so you accrue mana so quickly. If you're speed farming artifacts,
Yeah, artifacts.
the
will
three
give-
ways you lose mana is you're regrinding a ton of things, you're upgrading your first set of artifacts ever, and you move runes a ton. Like if you don't do those three things, you're in a great place, right? If you're regrinding stuff constantly, you burn through mana pretty quick because the mana gain from what it takes to actually like spend a grind is quite a bit different, right? If you're upgrading your first sets of artifacts, you're generally not as picky with your artifacts because you just need the stats to start with. So you're upgrading a ton of things to +15. It's like 2 million artifact here and there. There we go. There we go. And then like the moving runes. Like if you're moving runes constantly, yeah, you're burning through mana. But once you get like max blues for artifacts, like it's easy to just keep a ton of mana. All right. Dude, I just want to gamble my mana. What I want to do, and I know this is completely irrelevant, but I think it would just be fun, is I want to go into an RTA spectate lobby and be like, 5 million that Agent Smith beats this G3 player. 5 million mana right now. And like anyone can just gamble the mana against me, you know?
That sounds, or even crystals if you want. But nah, that could be.
That can
That
turn
could
into
be-
just mana feeding.
No,
though.
like-
People
Like,
would
just
sell mana.
Mana, right?
People
Like,
would sell
not
mana.
crystals, but just mana, because mana doesn't have like a super strong
Yeah.
relevancy to the game once you have so much of it. So it's just like, why not just have like a fun system to just like mess around with?
Because
where
the
you, like,
community would
like
ruin
variant
it.
right?
It's. I think it's a
fair.
great
It's
idea.
just
The
mana.
community would ruin it.
I think it'd be funny.
It would turn
Yeah.
into Command Mana Store, guys. If you'd like to purchase some mana, $5 for 10 mil, $10 for 25 million mana. And if you guys want my 100 mil mana, that's going to cost you $50. PME in my Mana Store Discord.
Oh,
It would
oh,
be
what
funny, though.
happened?
It would
Kinda
just be funny
ladder
to
match.
gamble
It would
mana
be
over
fun. It would be
something
fun, but I'm telling you, the community would destroy it.
Well,
Oh,
We
man.
can't have
Maybe,
nice
but-
things. We cannot have
just-
nice things.
yes, we can. We can have nice.
I would think that'd be so much fun. Even like challenging. Imagine going into a Goodwill where you're like, all right, I'm gonna put up 5 mil mana if I win, they agree, and then you get 10 mil mana for beating him. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
I remember playing
that
other
was
games where you'd play each other for currency, and it was so much fun because it just added more to just simple 1v1s. But people would take advantage of that.
Well, if it was limited to just ladder matches, that is much harder to abuse and control. I could get on board with that, but not goodwill, because that will get
Yep.
definitely abused. But I like the idea. I like just being able to bet on stuff. It's just fun.
It would be fun. Unless it was like a third party currency you can accrue in trade. The only way to trade said currency is to earn it through playing, and then that's not mana. It would have to be like a trading currency or a
points?
gambling currency that can only be achieved by playing and then gambling on top of it.
I don't know. I'm down with the mana. I've got 200 mil mana. Let's do that.
Wheeling and dealing with the mana. It would be
I don't
fun.
know,
That would
maybe
be really fun.
That
I think
was-
another quality of life thing, and this may be a controversial thing to discuss because people hate the concept of things being pay to win, but they also forget that everything is pay to win when there's gacha and money, right?
As soon as
So, I'm thinking we should increase the amount of crystals we get from packs. Currently, we get 3,000 for $100 on average for packs, right? Some packs give you less, right? And the thing with that is that makes every single refill $2. Every refill is $2, right? I think that the crystal increase should be about 33%. I think 3K packs should go to 4K. And I think that all the other, I mean, the reason I think that is because it's so easy to spend a ton of money in the game just farming. And we've kind of reached the point in the game where like buying scrolls, if you're going to buy scrolls, you're probably never getting what you want, right? Because there are just so many units in the game now that like getting what you want is just impossible, right? So like, what about like making $100 pack worth $133? Like it gives you that like extra bit and makes your money spent more enjoyable, right? If it's 33% more crystals, you can farm for 33% more time, right? Like there's just all these like little small things with it that I feel would be relevant and helpful towards the players, and it really doesn't damage the ecosystem or the economy of the game because free-to-play players still get a lot.
not the current one, but would whales complain about all the crystals they missed out on?
No, they'd just be happy that they get more now.
Yeah. How would you feel
I
if it was left screen only? Left screen
What?
only? If you bought left screen only, the crystals are going up for your purchases, the way you're saying.
I mean, the special offers.
Yes.
I
Shop stayed the
put it in
same,
all
and then
Nah,
left
put it
screen
all.
only went up.
don't think it matters. There's so many packs in the game now. I mean, like back in the day, like when we used to play, like let's look at the game before R5 came out, right? Before R5 came out, you used to be able to spend like $1,500 a month at the max on packs, unless you were just buying raw crystals, basically, right? Nowadays, you could probably spend like $4,000 in a month and still have packs to buy. Like there are just that many packs, right? Like I don't think it's a big deal if it's only left side or only like whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Because everything on the left side track goes under the limited section in the shop anyways.
Yep. It's true.
Yeah. I think most whales aren't buying packs for crystals anyway. They just want the items or the special things or the scrolls.
Yeah,
So the
but like
crystals
extra
just
crystals are kind of nice, right?
especially
like,
for like the
You're
mid,
buying
the mid.
re-apps, right? You're spending $300 on re-apps. You get 7,500 crystals, right? Now you get 10,000 crystals. Sweet, 2,500 more crystals.
Yeah, especially like us middle spenders who a few special packs a year, those kinds of things. That's nice for us. So, like, I'm probably gonna depending how good the anniversary packs are, probably going to get one or two of them. So, just have to see.
Packs
I don't know.
for,
I think
for
like
myself.
as the game goes on, you just need to add value, right? Like that's just how it is. You just add more value so that spending is relevant. Otherwise, your game dies. Like no one wants to spend, game dies. Simply how it is.
They have been upping
You
the
know,
crystals over
Taylor.
the years, though. If I know you've noticed. Like you'll see that it'll say new, and then they'll add more.
Yeah,
Sometimes it has been crystals.
but they don't add anything significant. They add like
Yeah.
one scroll, one extra rainbow one, shit like that. Like
Yeah.
it's not relevant enough. Sorry, you were saying something, Marantino?
Oh yeah, sorry. The thing is, packs for like the past 2 years, maybe 2 years now, I am like totally free to play. I don't have that much experience with packs. Why? You'll tell me why. The thing come to us actually, they raised the price of the packs. Now it's kind of more expensive for me to get packs, all of it. So I don't know what is the reason why they just raised the price that much.
So I think I can explain it a little bit. I don't know the exact reason, but in the past, with mobile games, it used to be based on currency exchange. So what would happen is if you bought something that was 100 USD, it would charge you the currency exchange difference plus a small transaction fee for whatever you were paying in, right? And now it's just fixed amounts. Like every country has a fixed amount price. So like in Canada, I pay 140 Canadian dollars for a pack. But 140 Canadian dollars is more than 100 US, which doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Like it's 111 USD. So like I'm wasting $11. I think something like that being adjusted to where it like actually fits the currency exchange would be great. But I'm not sure if that has to do with like Google Play and the Apple Store itself having their own restrictions on things. It is frustrating. That was implemented about 5 years ago, I think. I think 5 years ago.
Oh.
But yeah, that's the reason why we have like fixed prices and certain things cost more. Like if you pay in euros versus if you pay in Great British pounds versus if you pay in like Canadian dollars or New Zealand dollars, like everything is just more expensive than paying in US dollars.
It's not a comp to us thing. It's not a comp to us thing.
No, it's in everything. Everything's like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, price is getting higher, so people would be like free to play, more free to play.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
Well, now's a better time more than ever, though, with the amount of events that we get and the stuff that you get now. So, not a terrible time to be free to play.
absolutely not. It is working for me. I am like free to play for 2 years now. I
But
get nothing, but I'm still okay. Still G2.
Almost G2. Look at
Yeah.
you.
like, for me to be free to play or semi free to play for the most part, like I have to siege farm though, or I'm just not getting enough crystals every week to be able to do dungeon runs at a consistent level. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way to up the daily or monthly rewards to include a lot more crystals.
Just a couple more things. Overall, though, I think they're doing a good job. I'm really happy with the direction of the game. I feel like the direction of the base game itself is quite good.
Yep.
It's quite good. Okay. Topic 3. I have another question. We actually did bring up TOA improvements. Agent Smith brought up improving TOA rewards and TOA hard rewards.
Yes, please.
Okay, question 3. And it's a little bit different from the way we normally do it. So in question 3, we usually talk about RTA buffs and nerfs, right? Usually we talk about buffs and nerfs. I actually kind of want to spin it a little differently this week, if you guys are comfortable with that. Normally we just talk about, we say buffs and nerfs, we just talk about nerfs. We just talk about shit that's OP. We complain about things, yada, yada, yada. It's always the same thing. It's always Watery's OP, Verd's OP, Chungpung's OP. We just talk about the exact same thing, right? So what I want to talk about this week, and I want kind of like your opinions on it, because I think it's a little more creative, is what kind of buffs or types of buffs to units would you like to see in the game that you think could actually make an impact either in RTA, Siege, or in some sort of PvE content, right? It can be units that exist already. It could be units that you want to create. I kind of want to like pick your brains and see if you have an idea of something that we could do to change the game that could be beneficial, right? That's not a nerf.
I did think of something kind of interesting, and I would like to get your guys' opinions on it in terms of a type of buff for a unit. What if units had something called conditional passives? Like, if a certain skill or a certain debuff was on them, that passive then kicked in. Otherwise, if that's not on them or that skill isn't on cooldown, the passive is inactive kind of thing. I think that because I was thinking about that, and like certain units, like particularly if they have the ability to like get as a conditional passive, like they swap debuffs and buffs with somebody else on a type of thing. Like, I was just thinking like that's one idea, conditional passives. I would like to think about your opinions.
Conceptually, I think that's brilliant. It would take a lot of balancing and a lot of time to add something like that to the game, but it would be pretty
A lot of
cool.
precedent.
It'd be pretty cool. What do you think, Marantino?
Yeah, I like this. It's really nice. I mean, it's not really a bad idea. And I've been thinking of something also. What if they add the dodge thingy into the game? Do you think it's gonna work? Like additional of the resist, it's something else. Dodge.
Oh, so not resistance, but the ability to have them
No,
miss.
Yeah.
Kinda
It's
like a
not
dodge
resist,
parry.
It's for like missing the physical damage. It's not like the
That'd be
ability or
so tilting.
it-
It would be a new
You
stat
get-
they'd have to introduce though, because it wouldn't be resistance. You know what I mean? Resistance
No,
is
it's not
something's trying to
resistance.
be
It's
applied.
it is going to dodge the physical damage, the main damage, you know. So he can. There's an ability will dodge it, but it's going to be a chance, just like resisting, right?
Hmm.
Will be a chance.
I mean, it
This
kind
will
of sounds
be
like a
really
passive.
nice.
The way Garrow won't accept death through a one shot. It needs to be a multi hit. So it's kind of like his form of dodging through a passive. So it just sounds like a unit can be introduced with a passive where the first hit or whatever amount of hits he's able to survive, but if you violent proc, you're able to deal damage. Kind of the same way like water reuse passives up and you go for a big hit on him, but it deals nothing. So in a way, he parried or dodged it because he didn't receive any damage. So it would have a cooldown on it.
You mean but I'm talking like if that dodge will be in the main stats of the characters.
So
It's
every
not.
unit
It's
would
n-
have a dodge and parry kind
every
of thing.
single unit in the game is able to dodge, but it's going to be like it's like new things to add it into the game. But it's gonna be super hard because they have to fix everything, even the runes. He can like it's a new ability for the unit, right? But
It sounds like something great for Summoner's War 2 because of how
it's
deep they're already in for Summoner's War. That would be pretty crazy to introduce another RNG factor.
I think if you
It
had
is
that on a
gonna be
conditional
super hard.
passive, it could be okay. But I think adding it like as just a base thing that like every unit could have is way too much, right?
Yeah,
'Cause then
but
it's
it
just like
managed that
adding
it's
up
gonna happen, Taylor.
Mm.
It's crazy, right?
It would drive me up a wall. being
It's
being
going
a
to be
bruiser,
crazy.
trying to deal my damage, it would drive me up a wall.
But yeah, like for us was saying like Vanessa is a conditional passive. It's not. I mean, it sort of is, but it's a passive that will always trigger. Whereas a conditional passive is something else has to be in effect in order for this to trigger. Like I have to have 2 debuffs on me for this passive to trigger, or I have to have this skill on cooldown in order for this passive to be active, kind of thing, like a recovery pass. You know, some sort of condition in order for the passive to trigger, where instead of just death, you know, now it's going to revive type of thing. That's just what I was more thinking along the lines of.
So, those know I have been playing a lot of World of Warcraft Classic. I'm currently playing a Warlock, and this couldn't help but start thinking things and like how would it be in Summoner's War. So I was always thinking of a skill that was a disease. The disease goes on to one target, and let's just say 4-turn Oblivion, one target, but every turn it moves to a unit next to it. Now, it may not have a passive, but it's a 4-turn Oblivion on that one unit. Every turn, it'll move to 1, 3 turns, moves to another, 2 turns, moves to 1 more, it's on its last life. Of course, it gets cleansed, it's gone. And then he has other diseases he can apply. But I would love it if it was an Oblivion that can get moved across just by being next to another unit. So it's a disease. And that
What I
would
mean-
only be one of the skills, and then you can change up them. I kind of thought of it like the Poison Masters, but I also like the idea of a Warlock being introduced to apply Affliction spells. And then that's all it is. It's basically a ton of dots not dots specifically, but a ton of diseases. It could be glancing, def break, attack break, slow, and all of this is just slowly getting it passed through the team, but it ticks down as it gets passed. So obviously towards the end of a match, if they only have one unit, it's going to get stuck with a 4-turn Oblivion at the very end of a match. If there's just one unit, maybe 4 turns is too much, and it might be 3 turns instead of saying 4. But the idea of a disease being passed through your opponent's team unless it gets cleansed. COVID, yeah, no.
No.
True.
But I just thinking of it, just because I've been playing this class, I'm absolutely loving it, having a lot of fun with it. The COVID debuff.
I think it would probably have to be susceptible to immunity. Like,
Yes, of
if-
course, of course.
I just mean like if you put it on a unit that doesn't have immunity, it gets passed over to a unit with immunity. It's gone, kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Kind of like they had the antibodies, aka immunity.
They're vaccinated, so
Yeah. That would make sense. But I think it would be a neat one, banning more immunity, more strippers. Or what if it was a strip disease? You know what I mean? That could be a thing too. Strip disease.
affliction would probably be the word for it. Would be a good
Yeah.
like little off term, but
I want to nerf more of my units. Yeah. I could use that too, though.
Disease. What if like that debuff you were talking about, Stoic?
Mhm.
If that is like kind of it's moving, yeah, maybe, or it can be doing a damage around on left and right unit only. Right? If you just replace it for the one in the middle, so that disease will do a damage between the left and right.
Yes.
Kind
I would
it
fix
will be nice, right? Maybe this is a new ability.
I think that's another great way to go about it, though, because we've got so many elements to play around with. They could be strip diseases where the diseases get passed around. It could be where one unit in the center gets disease, but its bordering units next to them are taking damage due to the one sick unit in between them. That's another great way to look at it as well. I think there's a lot of routes they can go if they chose to do something like this.
I think the
What is
reason
that?
I don't
Creative
necessarily
West?
agree with adjacent based damage is because I feel like splash damage should be everybody, because then positioning matters a lot. And then it matters as well what order you draft things in, because it's not like you can reposition your units. Like at that point, we're just leaning more and more towards E7, where instead of like leader skill based system, it's and then left to right based, it's just grid system, right? Where you lock in units in certain spaces for certain reasons. Right.
Well,
For Summoner's War, like tick rate and tick distribution being left to right, and then leader skills and positioning for attack bar distribution is like half the reason why like turn order matters, right? Like you can pick someone left to right if they're the exact same speed. Left to right always moves first, right? So like what you're suggesting is you're suggesting that the positioning of your units matters, and I don't like outside of just what order you pick them in for speed. And even then, what order you pick them in for speed is not usually that. Like they're not usually on the same one speed. Even with like leader skills and stuff, right? Like base speed difference variance, as well as like I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure how to articulate this properly, but I feel like adjacent base damage, you might as well just make it everybody, right?
but for instance,
Or, like,
you
a
could nerf
random
your
ally.
own
Instead
skill
of adjacent,
by
it should be
priority
like
in a match,
random
though.
ally.
So let's say
Pardon?
you went with a side one where he's only next to one unit. You're choosing to afflict that one, and you're not getting the other side. You're only afflicting one adjacent unit. That's your choice because it was a priority for you to apply said negative effect, whatever it may be, to get that adjacent damage. Or maybe it was a situation where you really, really wanted to apply this negative effect onto this unit. But guess what? If you apply it onto another unit, you'll get the adjacent damage to finish off something that was potentially going to die. I guess it's all situation, though. It's situational. And it's on the
I feel like
user to
we
apply it.
need that kind of we don't need that kind of like it doesn't feel like an extra level of complexity that adds a lot of depth to the game to me, right? In E7, I feel like you need that because you don't have you don't have the same attack bar distribution system. Like we have an extremely complex attack bar distribution system, which adds enough depth to drafting
Mhm.
that I feel like you don't need to add another level of like directional drafting, right? Like positional drafting. I don't think is something that should be. I feel like it just doesn't need to be another level, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, it can. I'm not saying like it shouldn't be. I'm just saying for me specifically, I feel like that kind of drafting just doesn't add that much to the game, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're probably never using that for PvE stuff, and in Guild Wars you have 3 units anyway, so like it doesn't really like you just spread it regardless, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I feel like it should, if you're talking about like splash based adjacent damage, it should be all allies or all enemies.
Mhm.
And then if you're talking about like debuff transfer for adjacent, it should honestly just be random allies or all allies, right?
But you brought up attack bar. Imagine one unit getting diseased, and what it was doing is it once again adjacent, but what it does is it slows attack bar for both people, and it pushes back its own attack bar for adjacent monsters as well. I know it's more adjacent.
Should be everything.
It should
or
be
random.
everything.
Should be everything or random.
Well, I had another idea along that vein. Like, so you know how Dova at the beginning of a battle like picks his buddy, and that's his
Mhm.
buddy for the battle. I want something like that, but for the enemy, where like, so take like the Dark Dragon for example. You have the Dark Dragon, right? And you add something to his passive that's like the opposite of Dova, where it's like, if that it chooses the particular enemy maybe based on like lowest attack or something. It's like if Grogo dies, that unit will also die. Like I'm gonna take you with me, or something like that. So just I don't know how you'd base it. It probably would have to be stat based, maybe even base stat based, so you could more consistently choose your moment to bring something like a Grogo. But I like the idea. Yeah, the Dark Dragon. So I like the idea of like the Dova, like the buddy system Dova mechanics, but maybe like the opposite.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. Be interested to see that. I don't know. There's a lot to do, but I am very I know that I've sounded very like against the ideas and stuff. I'm really against like positional stuff in Summoner's War because I feel like Summoner's War doesn't need it. But at the same time, if they added it, I would just adjust and get used to it, right? So it's not like it's a bad idea. I'm not trying to say it's a bad idea. I'm just expressing that I feel like it's not something that adds to the game that I feel is as strong as other things they've added to the game. But I do appreciate that everyone kind of humored my idea of wanting to talk about like buffs or buff styles instead of talking specifically about nerfing units and things that are OP. I do have a subset question for the topic. I'd like everyone to think about this. One unit that you'd like to buff that is not a Nat 5. And what would you want it to do?
Now I'm looking.
Curious as to what everyone's feeling right now. Curious as to what everybody's feeling. I'd like to see a lot of the LD4s buffed. I think a lot of the LD4s suck. A lot.
I agree. They're really, really bad. I could
Like,
actually go
imagine
the
pulling
easy
a
route
Lewis,
right now.
like, you're just sad.
Poison
You pull a
Masters.
Lewis,
Give
like,
them my
what do I do?
diseases.
Like, why couldn't it be the dark one at least? Like, why couldn't it at least be Guillaume or something? But yeah.
Let's see.
That's my opinion on them, personally.
Maybe light magical archer, or those the ones that have like 3
Wait, Light
star.
Magical Archer is pretty good right now. She's the one that deletes units now.
Oh, she does. Huh?
Chris, yeah, they were using her in SWC. It was one of the Japanese players popped her out for a match and just instantly killed 2 units with her.
I didn't even see that. Nice. Yeah, I was just like, no. I just wanted to finish my thought on the dark. What is his name? The Dark Archer.
Illisen?
Illison.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I would like to see those kinds of units with the Nat 3 counterparts, so you don't feel like you're getting a Nat 3, because that's usually basically what they are. Those I would like to see buffed, like LD ones in particular, but also like the Phantom Thieves as a whole are just atrocious. They can be completely reworked.
If I had to pick one 4-star unit, and I would really, really like to see a buff, and it's due to all the other not being that great. Not that great. And not like they're terrible, but I would love to see a very viable Conrad. I think he's a really cool looking unit. I want to see more at a Conrad. He's got a speed lead and
Conrad.
everything. I think he could be great if they just like changed everything about him.
He said Conrad, guys.
He'd be
That's
great
something
if
to
he
do,
was literally nothing like what he is.
That's what
I
I'm
mean-
saying. Like, remove his skills, keep the 19 speed lead, and just make something of him, Comptos. And I think
You
Conrad
just
would
want
be
a
sick.
light speed lead unit, is what you're telling me.
What's that?
You just want a unit that's light that has speed lead.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see it.
I think it's a really cool looking unit. I love the Death Knights.
Yeah,
But
they
a
really cool
viable
transmogs.
Conrad.
Cool transmogs. All right, Marantino, what do you think?
All right. I think for Comtos, I'm first of all I'm against nerf unit. Nerfs, it's not my thing. Buff, yes. But what kind of unit I'm looking for to be buffed for the RTA, especially RTA, okay, not just in general for the game, just RTA. The unit like we're not using them. There's so many unit nobody using because they are kind of weak or they're useless for the RTA. So if come to us, they just keep looking for this specific unit, the weak one, like nobody pick. They can just see it, right? In RTA, the meta, what people picking. So they just ignore them. They don't even nerf them. It's fine. Not like let's just go back to Leica. Leica being nerfed. Do you remember when he was revenging the stun? It's
He's a
kind of
god.
I
it
remember.
it was fine. People can't deal with it. We can't deal with it, but he get nerfed. So it's kind of bad. I'm sad he's get nerfed, but let's just say how many 3 stars, 4 stars unit that we don't use. Unfortunately, yeah, we need the buff. We need more buffs for for these units. So RTA will going to be more harder because there is so much unit you have to deal with and you can use as well in the RTA. Not just over and over. You can just see Okeanos, I see Verd, I see it's just repeating. Everybody with the same comp, right? But there's what about the other units? Like for myself, I like to use the fire cow. It's just awesome unit. We need the second awaken for him.
Actually, a
For
lot of
fun.
the cows have interesting kits, but they just don't quite meet up to where they need to be, either stat wise or otherwise.
Yeah, second awaken is the issue. It's just they will get there, and hopefully they will buff more units. Actually, just more.
More 2As would be fun. I'd be interested to see more 2As.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to see more units in RTA to be used, right?
I'm tired of 2As wrecking me. I don't want to. I mean, I want to see more 2As, but more viable ATA 2As is brutal.
I would just want them to stick to their original concept, which was monsters that used to be used, no longer used, getting a 2A, like the Hellhounds.
Yeah, 2As are backseating so many new units they've had in the past. It's like it's just all about the 2As. You can't use anything. Like they'll rebuff things, and they're like it's still not technically usable when they buff said unit. And the 2As they come out, they're great. Everyone still uses them for everything. The 2As they're so powerful.
I want to see a Dwamatef buff.
Maybe 2A
Dwamatef.
need to be a little bit
Just the-
faster to add it in a game, right? Because it's kind of slow and it will take so much time for the new second awaken that will just release. Yeah, whatever, if,
I
like,
have-
every month.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like, what if like every month they just add, or 2 months they can just add like a new 2A, right? Second awaken.
Once
To be
once a
faster.
month?
We have so many units.
We do.
Like at least like 3 every 3 months they add just
But
I'm
to
down.
one
the,
or
the
two.
2As are. I mean, it's more units. That's great. But the 2As are coming out, and they come out so strong. Imagine in
Sometimes.
3 months. Well, so 3 months, 3 new units, and that's sooner than we would get them before. And balance patch comes, and maybe they were overtuned and they didn't fix them in that balance patch, and then the following balance patch they might fix them. So we're talking these 2As being as strong as they are, not being touched potentially for 2 to maybe even 3 balance patches. That'd be
More
crazy
balance
if they kept hitting us with unit after unit, and like they were just way too overwhelming. I kind of like the pace that the 2As are being introduced right now, because it also helps them come out with other units as well. So they're not like, oh, all the 2As are here, now we don't have to come out with new units. They have 2As to work with. You know, I don't want to give Comptuous that chance to be like, let's not introduce you new units. They've got a new 2A coming. You know, I don't even want to give them that excuse. I want new units.
I mean, I'd be fine with that though. So then I don't have to try and summon them.
It's
But,
true.
I mean, I get that. That's the business part.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make me wail to get the new OP unit.
But don't you think, guys, like before adding new units into the game, like for example, we have Water Ryu, right? And it's been a meta, and everybody's using him, and he is really OP. His kit is crazy. But why before they fix the old unit that we have? And we do have a lot of them.
Mhm.
They need to be fixed.
A lot of them.
Like don't add, just fix so people can use them in RTA.
So the answer to that is actually a balance thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for things to
exactly.
be good, things have to be bad.
Mm.
Like there does have to be a disparity and difference between things that are strong and things that are not. Because if everything's the same or everything's like really, really close, the game becomes closer and closer to chess with 15% RNG. Right? I don't agree with how strong things are right now. Like the difference right now is way higher than it normally is. But I do think that it needs to be a difference between units, and there needs to be units that phase in and out of being strong and not being strong. Units being strong forever is usually an issue. That's why Ganny's an issue, right? Ganny's always been strong, right? But Ganny is not the strongest unit right now. He's just one of the ones that pairs really well with just about anything and has always been good, right? I do think that there needs to be like a difference in level between things that are good and things that are bad. I don't think everything should always just be brought up, because what happens is you create power creeping, right? And when you bring everything up and you just keep bringing things up, eventually anything that comes out is just so strong that it's impossible that you have to summon it no matter what, right?
Mhm.
And we're kind of like, we're slowly getting to that point again. We got to that point in the past about 2 years ago, and then it didn't happen as much for a little bit. They released some weaker units, and then they just started buffing them again. And so now we're back at that issue, like with the whole Ryu Chongpeng meta, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I understand where you're coming from when you say like, you know, it sucks to get units nerfed, and I don't think that units should be nerfed, and we should have like more units that become usable, because if you have these units for long periods of times and they're not good, it just sucks to own them, right? Versus like them releasing new units. But I also feel like you need to have both, right? You need to have new things that come out that are either weak or really strong, and you also need to have things that phase in and out of being strong and not being strong. I don't know if that makes sense. Like Tyrannus was really strong for a long time, but now Tyrannus is really weak in the meta, right?
Mm.
And I think that that's fine. Stuff like that is fine, right? Having units be good and then phase out.
Juno used to be just good. You know, she was usable back in the day. Now she's amazing. And if you don't have her,
She was terrible back in the day.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice.
was literally
There was
terrible until
times for
Artifact came out.
Juno.
Depends how far back in the day you want to go, but yeah.
I'm saying like
Juno
go
was
back to
terrible until
single-digit
Artifacts
seasons.
came out. Before Artifacts came out, if you wanted to use a Juno, you had to have like the insane runes, and you had to be super lucky because she did no damage.
But she was usable when you had like a Rika picked. You know what I mean? When they drafted Rika, she was considered usable. She was good.
Rika Nefties, you could pick Juno and Tetra, but a lot of the time you could still kill Juno.
Yeah.
Because everyone else was heal blocked, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was all right. She's just now absolutely amazing now.
Artifacts changed everything.
Mhm.
Artifacts are basically Summoners War 2.0. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think the artifact actually make Juno more popular these days.
Artifacts are
Juno
the only reason Juno's
always,
usable.
she is a beautiful actually unit. I love her so much. I've been using Juno for like the last 3 seasons in RTA.
Question: what's your
before-
additional damage on Juno right now? Unless you don't want to say. You don't have to say.
I don't know.
Speed.
No, but there is additional damage by like speed and HP, and there's crit damage as well. I don't remember, but the
But, like,
point is,
before
even
additional
before the
damage
artifact,
artifacts,
he was really good. Like with that back in the meta of how to reanimate that comp,
Mhm.
right? I was using
I
her.
totally have an opposite experience from you with that. Like, I've had Juno's my first Nat 5, and I've given her a lot of love forever. Like, I've had a Juno rune for like 14 seasons. I just feel like she's always been so easy to control. And then in the past, she just never dealt any damage. Like, it was so easy to kill her if you built her damage, and it was so easy to like just control her if she didn't have damage because she didn't do anything. She never killed anybody, right? Having like, because back then, like when it was Gani Hathor before artifacts, Fran was insanely strong, right? So Fran could just overheal any amount of damage that you could apply to a Gani Hathor, right? And Gani Hathor could control you because double pushbacks and you have a ventilate, right? And they're generally faster than you too. Right? It's just the nature of having to build crit rate is like you can get controlled. If you get a turn, maybe you can cycle a little bit more, but you also have to get a turn and you have to despair stun somebody, and then you have to go through their healing, right?
Yep. Have you ever used you pick Juno against people who is cleaving you with the Lucian that kind of comp?
I
Jack
did
Leaf?
for a little bit, but I feel like there were better units still. Like a lot of the time, like obviously if you don't have the units, it's different, right? But like Samoth and Diana were almost always better pickups. And I used the Nemesis Chiwu as well. So like Nemesis Chiwu, Diana, Samoth was almost always better than picking Juno. And then when, yeah, exactly like Toxic Chang saying, like when Lauren was in meta too, Lauren would just infinitely kill Juno. There was no possible way you'd ever get a turn.
Yeah, that's really counter for Juno. That's 100% counter for Juno. And then there's no way. It's either they ban that Lauren. Yeah, I cannot deal. That's my comp. Neftis and Juno together for how many, like 5 seasons until now. I'm using this kind of comp. I love them.
I just don't like the Juno with my Nephthys, because maybe it's because I'm just using a different style. I do have Oki though, so that's probably where you're slotting in. You'd probably switch it out if you had an Oki, right? The Juno.
No. You cannot like Juno is much better to have her with Neftis.
Interesting. I have a different experience. I find Juno does not work very well with me, but I can kill her easy enough. So
One day maybe when I'm going to summon Oki, yeah, maybe I will change my mind. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with that Juno for life, always. Even though people were like saying when I was streaming, like, why are you going Juno all the time? Why? Against Cleave, against CC teams? I said like she's perfect unit. She's trip, she's stun, she do a lot of things actually. And hard to kill as well. But there's a new meta recently. People start you. I mean, vampire. What? Vampire Juno.
It's actually pretty sick.
Like what?
I mean, I wish I could do it. I don't think I have the runes to do Vampire Juno, but it's I don't know. Vampire Juno, not bad, right? I mean, you do damage. Why not? Give it a go.
Very,
We're
very
gonna
good.
have to test that.
Just give it a go. Yeah, I mean, you heal a lot, right? It's cool because like artifacts and everything have changed units to the point where like you can really try a lot of different things. Like damage mitigation, for example, if you run like minus damage from things, you can run way different stats on things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bring in, I think it was a 17k Lucian into a bunch of Iris teams in Guild Wars, and it's like I can't kill that Iris anymore because she's got like minus 23% wind. I'm like, okay, well, this is the game we play now. Like everything has changed. Everything has changed. So I really do feel like artifacts and I guess maybe crit changes as well is like Summoner's War 2.0. Like this, we are the Summoner's War 2 now. Like we're playing a whole different game than we used to play.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
the artifacts definitely changed the game for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for hearing my question. I appreciate it. I really did want to talk about like buffing things and changing things instead of like nerf this, nerf that, nerf this, nerf that. So thank you guys for humoring me on that.
Of course,
I do want to open the podcast now to community questions. So if you guys have any questions, tag any of us in chat. We'll try to grab them. If you want to just read out the person's question and then answer it, we can do it in that format. Let's give it maybe like 15 minutes before we probably call it from here.
Sounds good. By the way, biased opinion, I don't want to see a Duamatef buff followed up by a Kabezanuf.
Kabezanuf?
Yeah, I don't want to see any buffs for any of them, because if they become super viable, I would hate to cast that for SWC. I can't say that
it
quick
has to
enough
be done.
or smooth
You heard it
enough.
come to us. It has to be done. You have to buff Duamatef, Kavesanov, Imesity.
I can't make that clear.
God sakes, they're so hard to pronounce. Just do all the Egyptian gods. There's like
I
100 of them.
already screw up so many names all the time. People call me out all the time for my screw ups. I can't do this. Don't give me these two.
If you want more units,
guys.
add Egyptian gods. There you go.
Yeah, we need to add some weird unit names in there. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun watching you cast that. I'll make a video compilation of when you get names wrong. I think it'll be a good highlight for your
Oh,
stream.
Patasaur's got a great one.
Do you think the limits on Vio put in RTA could be put throughout the game? No. And the reason for that is because in RTA you're playing live content. In everything else you're playing player control, or you're playing AI controlled player settings, right? So if you set a defense, it is controlled by AI, and for the most part, it's very easy to bait things, which is why standards like 8 and 2 and Siege and stuff is like reasonable, right? If the Vio limits were on there, you would probably never lose ever.
Yep.
Like
too easy to
ever. Like
make.
fast teams, you could just out tank them because they can only proc once, right? Like bruiser teams, you just kill one threat and you move on. There's not like they're gonna violent proc 4 times into a heal again. It's not like they're gonna violent proc back into a second revive or anything, right? I think that limitation on non-RTA content would make non-RTA content pretty terrible and pretty stale. I mean, given it's already kind of stale, but it would be worse.
Yeah. Definitely the AI and the extra violent procking is what saves Guild Wars and makes it actually something. Even though I do hate guild content, but that's it just wouldn't work. Be too easy to bait AI.
Yeah, overall, like, I don't know, that one gets asked quite a bit, and I think that's a pretty significant. If you made that change, you would see really boring sieges. You would see really boring siege tournaments too. Like, you would no longer see defenses where you're like, I can't believe that guy got 15 wins. Most important question: pho or ramen? It entirely depends on my mood.
Never had pho,
Probably pho.
so I guess ramen because I've never had the other one.
I have a very ignorant response. What's the difference?
Oh, pain. All right, next time we go out, I'm taking you for one or both. Next time we're at an event. Pho is Vietnamese, traditionally beef noodle soup, whereas ramen is traditionally a Japanese pork-based soup broth.
Okay. All right.
I'm unfollowing.
I'm pretty sure I went out for some.
Have you had either before?
I think it was. I want to say it was pho. Okay. I want to say it was pho. I was out in Boston during PAX East 2019. I went out in Boston for what I believe was pho. Came home, told my wife I had some great ramen. I don't think I knew what the difference was though. I thought it was just a different way of saying it. So there's me, not trying to be ignorant, just I don't know.
So, Marantino, have you ever had pho or ramen? Like traditional ones?
Oh, wait a second. What is that? That's what I
Okay.
didn't really. I don't know what is it.
It's okay. It's so pho is a traditional, I believe it's traditionally a beef-based broth rice noodle soup. It's Vietnamese. And then ramen, traditional ramen is pork knuckles made into a pork bone broth with, I believe
Oh.
it's usually alkalized noodles if you do it traditionally.
We don't eat pork.
Yeah. So you can, they do vegetable versions as well. So like that could also make sense. You could try those, but thought I'd ask anyways. You know, some people have tried a lot of different things.
Exactly. As we just eat noodles like Indomie. It just
Indomie's
that.
good.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
familiar with this one.
Yeah. Okay. Another question that was asked. Does additional damage artifacts work or add onto vamp runes? I don't think you vampire off your additional damage. I'm pretty sure you don't.
No, it's fixed. I don't think you do.
However, you can run like 50% additional vampire if you really want to. Just for fun.
Additional recovery. I did get one of those quad rolled. I just held on to it, but it's a light one, so I don't know what the heck to do with it.
I don't know anybody. Light on vamp?
That's why I'm like, I can't think of a single unit I could use this a quad rolled light vamp.
Wait,
artifact.
what? Light? It's a light typing
Yeah.
with quad vampire?
Yep.
Sounds like you need a Jagger.
I don't have one.
I think that's his only option. Unless he goes unique and does something.
I'd probably just throw it on like Jin or something.
I don't think you build a chroma on vampire though, because their skill 2 can't vamp. So I don't think it's worth it.
Violence way too viable.
Well, Kinky, yeah. Well, I don't know. Kinky on Despair is pretty good too. Kinky on Despair is pretty troll, and it works really well.
Well, he
That's
has
how I
the
would do it.
recovery in the skill 1, so that
True,
counts
true.
for it. So you can
Is it
still
enough
go.
though? Because most people don't go big damage, right?
No, they don't.
I guess maybe, I don't know, 50, like if you got like 30%, even with low damage, it's probably still enough because you still take minimal damage, right? Like you don't take a lot of incoming damage, so it's probably worth it. You're right.
People can't crit you, so that's kind of a.
I always forget they have built-in lifesteal. I forget because I don't have a cocky, so everyone just trolls me.
Like Kaki and Kiki is such a powerful unit. Even after the nerf, it's still usable.
Yeah, I still use them in some matches. If
Mhm.
someone goes super win heavy against me and no immunity, Neft is cocky.
But that
Oh,
way,
that's a good way to use him.
The light one, like he's so crazy. I saw it on Daniel's stream. He was just solo Arta, Raptor, and Molly, and he just killed all 3 together.
Mm.
Easy peasy, super crazy.
Yeah, I was watching some Pinkroid stream today, and he was on an account that had a Kinky. The thing just like 1v4'd somebody.
Wild.
Yeah,
Broccoli,
people underestimate
Buffa
these units and
Chroma.
they don't really know what to do.
I would like to see Valkyrie skill 1 buffs. Just to make more no, I know Vanessa's very viable, but I would like to see Camilla more viable and due to first skill doing a little bit more than if you kill something, your second skill goes off. I would really like to see first skill Valkyries do something.
I think Camilla viability will come with an additional bonus to the passive, like half attack bar reduction or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like if the Valkyries had attack bar manipulation, whether it's absorb, pushback, whatever, I think that would be really, really nice for Valkyrie skill 1.
People bring in Camilla to try to like solo teams all the time, and I've never seen one solo.
I've done it. I had a Camilla ruined up for a while. I got some great matches out of it, but then I also kind of lost G2.
Yeah, I have never lost to Camilla.
There is a
She's
correlation there.
Scary.
I don't lose to Camillus either.
She has a place though in certain drafts. She has a place. Not
My
all.
water use solos Camilla from like 1% HP, like no effort. Unless you revenge kill me, like it's an easy solo. She doesn't do a lot.
I want
Camilla
Camilla viable again.
Knows her place, and her place is in Guild Wars and Siege, tanking and Odin. That's about it.
I would love Camilla. Camilla, she can be useful in RTA. I'm not gonna lie. Like against CC cleave teams.
But she gets
people
attacked
running.
so hard.
Yeah, but people running like heavy, kind of heavy druid, the fire druid,
Oh, Belinus.
Palanus. Yeah,
Yeah.
if there is
Yeah, I guess
Rika, Palanus, something like that, you can pull out Camilla. I mean,
they're gonna have Ryu Chiampeng, so good luck, Camilla.
I think it was Oki,
there
Masha,
is a place
Verd.
that you will use her. You will find a
Cammy
way to
dumped
use her,
on him.
right?
So in that situation, because I mean those are viable units. You see those units all the time. Maybe not in that combination, but like my Camilla dumped on those 3 units, and I had some similar matches where there was enough fire units out there that she just was the trump card.
Well, I'm glad you like Camilla.
Someone has to.
Wait,
She's got such a good Guardian transmog. I love the ultimate weapon transmog. That's my favorite transmog in this game. I think it looks
not running
great.
the waifu transmog.
That it's incredible. It's great. It looks awesome. Not the new. I don't like the new one.
I don't know about Camilla. I'm gonna have to.
For us,
I'm gonna have
he's-
to. I'm gonna have to talk to my RTA coach and see what they think about me running Camilla and then get banned. Get banned from everything.
Oh,
I just want to
Alright.
ask Fras, do you think Camilla going to work against you? I think yes, she is.
Oh, I've tried it before. It never works.
Really? You have?
Especially against the Praha. If he brings Praha, you just lose because she'll overheal every single time. And additional damage is really good against her too. Additional damage is good because it doesn't get reduced
She
by the
dies?
passive.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So if you have like 800 additional damage per hit, like let's say you're a fully spec'd out additional damage Praha, you're hitting 2.4k per turn. You're also rotating probably twice as fast as Camilla, which means she just gets destroyed. Right. You'd have to get super lucky. You'd have to revenge like every single turn. That's like the only way. And then Praha can overheal it too, right? And then if you ban his Praha, then you let everything else through. So you're letting a Nyx through. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. If it's an Acroma, it's a different story. But I think Camilla is just like trying to be an Acroma, but she's just weaker. You know?
Yeah. Right. No, I don't have one, but
When you
don't know.
do, let me know
Okay.
because I want to see how it is. But for
I
now, guys,
really want to use her against Fras team.
we do have to call the podcast. It's been about an hour and a half. We have things to do. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being on here. I appreciate it. Marantino, it was great to have you for the first time. Agent Smith, thank you for joining us
Thank
again.
you so much.
yeah, thanks. It was fun.
Anything else you guys want to say besides shout outs to the YouTube section, comment section?
Buff Fermion, he's terrible.
There's maybe one thing I would like to add. It's just a teeny thing. Is something. In the RTA, like when you go to the RTA, when you open the RTA, why they don't just add a little bit of the timing, like the season, and they put timing when the season starts, and they never ever remove it. It just it's there. How many times people asking you, for when the season will end? Just how many times this you just hear this question.
I would
When
like
the
that
season
in a
will end?
banner as well that says season 16. Can't tell you how many times I'm like, how many seasons are we
season
deep right now?
16, 120 days left, like that, for example. Be
They don't
nice.
even have to give us like how many days left. They could just say this is the starting date, because then we at least we have like an idea of like when
Yeah.
it should end, right? It's usually like 10 or 11 weeks. Like
Yeah,
we'd have a better idea at least. But I don't know. That's a good
Timer
idea.
will be perfect. Timer will be perfect with the season as
idea.
well, because I don't know what kind of season is this, to be honest.
That's
I just
16,
don't know.
I think. Oh, a decay timer would be cool too, so you know when you're gonna lose points and how many
Ooh.
points you're gonna lose. That would be cool too. I'll tell you how many.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Director, for joining us as well. I know we couldn't we had somebody drop out, so thank you for joining us. I know you were busy with your summoning henge in the backyard.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
I'm
So
always
thank you guys
here
for
and
joining
ready.
us on the podcast. If you missed anything, you came in partway through, it'll be on my YouTube channel. You can !PodVod if you want to check that out. And it should be there before Friday, pending no audio or video issues again. Yeah.
We should
Thank you
be
guys so
good.
much for joining us. See ya.
Take care, guys.
There you go.